And we're live. Welcome everybody here to your favorite day of the week. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined on this. I don't know what do we want to call this? Like inevitable Friday? Like it just feels like the series is. We are joined. I am joined on this Friday by Pete Zayas of the Laker Film Room podcast. Pete, how you holding up?
I'm doing okay. Be better if we were 1-1, but hanging in all right. How you doing with your shed?
This shed is gonna kill me. Like I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm like literally sweating right now because I've just laid. So in order to build a shed, I found this out
Oh,
on the fly, Pete.
okay.
I found this out on the fly. You need to clear out grass, which means digging up sod. Sod is like, that thick, and it's this
Mhm.
dense topsoil held together by grass roots. So this thing that I'm building is like 7 by 8. So I needed roughly 9 by 10, 10 by 10 space that I
Mhm.
need to clear out. So I'm digging this out. I dig out the sod. And after you dig out the sod, you have to lay out the soil that's underneath the sod, make it as flat as it can be before you then lay paver sand on top of it. And paver sand is this super dense, fine sand that would make it so these pavers don't move. And then on top of the sand, obviously, you have to throw these cement pavers, which I haven't even bought yet. Those are like these, I think they're like 3 by 3 foot cement things that are like this, thick as well. And so I got to do that right after we get off the air here. And then after all of that, oh, no, hold on. You have to then spread like essentially cement powder over the top of that stuff, water that down so that it completely seals in the pavers and make sure that they don't move. And then after all of that, you get to build a shed. I'm just, this sucks, dude.
I
Like,
I I didn't know all of that was coming when I asked you how the shed's going. See,
I
you feel
well, it was like one of those questions that, like, you remember from what was the Will Smith movie where he has to investigate the iRobot, right? Remember that movie?
I never saw it, but yeah.
Well, in that movie, like Will Smith is like investigating the death of the inventor of these robots and stuff like that. And there's this holograph of the inventor that Will Smith can consult. And he would ask this question, and then the inventor guy would be like, well, you're not asking the right questions. You're not asking the right questions. You're not asking the right questions. And then finally, Will Smith asks the question that unlocks this thing. So, like, you literally asked the question that unfurled
Mhm.
every fiber of my being. How is this shed coming? And it's going great, man. It's going great. It's
About as
like
well as the
almost as
OKC
good as the
series. Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
Right, right. Today's show, by the way, brought to you guys in part by Prize Picks. Use that promo code HMA and sign up, plus play a $5 lineup and get $50 worth of free lineups on Prize Picks. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about the series to this point, what adjustments that we think the Lakers can make. Would any of these adjustments get the Lakers back into this series? I think more importantly, Pete, I want to talk about what we have learned from this series and from these playoffs, not just as far as the basketball being played throughout these playoffs, but specifically about the Lakers as they embark on the latest, most critical summer in recent Lakers history. I've also been blown away, Pete. I sent out a couple of tweets yesterday about the refereeing as the game was going on. And I've been blown away at how many fan bases collectively have come together and been like, yeah, that sucks. And I don't necessarily want to get into another discussion about refereeing and the state of it and all this stuff, because I think I at least on my end, I've said all that I feel like needs to be said. But I do want to talk about kind of the consensus about OKC and whether it might swing at any point. So we might hit on that, and then obviously over the course of the show, if you guys leave questions and comments, Pete and I will try to get to as many of them at the tail end of the show as we possibly can. But yeah, Pete, let's start with the series to this point. Obviously, the Lakers are down 0-2, and they have held their own for good
What?
chunks of these games. And then like I've compared playing the Thunder to holding onto a tiger's tail,
Mm-hmm.
where you make one mistake and all of a sudden you're dinner.
Yeah.
And like it's just they're so overwhelming when they go on these defensive runs. And I guess like before we even talk about adjustments, what would you say has been the Lakers' biggest issue to this point?
I mean, they don't have as much talent as OKC.
That's fair. All right, I'll ask a better question. What has been the Lakers' biggest problem that can actually be addressed
That can be
in
addressed.
this series?
They're walking a pretty fine line. One of the things, the reason I bring that up first is because that game yesterday, well, and also it really, the rubber hits the road at certain parts of the game where the group that was bad was a group of Austin, Luke, Rui, Jake, and Jackson. They played, I think, 4.5 minutes. They played 2 shifts in each half and got blitzed both times. I think they were -12, -13 in those minutes. And across from them, Jared McCain is cooking us. AJ Mitchell is playing with that bench group and cooking us. And then they've got, 1 or 2 starters in, just like the Lakers do as well, of course. But when you look at that group for the Lakers, only one of them can dribble, and the Austin. And with OKC on that bench group, they start out really big with 2 bigs and Hartenstein and Chet. But with Jalen Williams, they go speed guards all around that. And so that part of the game is where they really want to pressure you and they really want to speed up relative to their starters. So in a lot of ways, it's a perfect storm of like the part where we have the fewest guys in the game who can dribble are going up against the part where they're especially good at turning you over. So I do think that like probably at least Marcus needs to be on the court if if LeBron is going to be out of the game, because it's just like, for example, there was a play where Jake had to bring the ball up. He got it across half court, then handed it to Kennard, and we were trying to run a horn set. We were trying to get the ball into Jackson, which would eventually flow into a handoff with Austin. But that shit took like 12, 14 seconds to get into. And by the time Austin gets the ball, he's got like 8, 9 seconds left on the shot clock. And he tries some.
He took.
That was the deep 3 that banked off the glass. Caruso gets the rebound. They push, they get across, and he just goes straight, just drives straight and has a nice dump off pass to Jalen Williams, who's trailing, and he's a stretch 5, hits the 3, exactly. But the thing that was remarkable to me about that was all 5 OKC players were across half court, not just across half court, but in an attack position with like 21 seconds left on the shot clock. And they're getting a legit good shot up. I saw a chart earlier today about the best half-court offenses in the playoffs. The Lakers' half-court offense is actually 3rd in the playoffs so far. I think it really speaks to the degree that they aren't getting jack shit in early offense, and occasionally from the occasional like rim run, lob play, thing that we do all the time. But guys like all 5 actually running the court, we don't do that. And so that, I know that's a long-winded answer, but like, yeah, again, the parts of the game where they're looking to really pressure the ball, we got to have at least 2 guys who can dribble on the court. I think it's probably time for Jake to sit. What else? What other adjustments? It's a thin path, man. I think they can go to more like guard screening. Defensively, one of the things that concerned me about game 2 was that I think that Shea really and OKC understood how to manipulate the 2 on the ball, and we went away from it. Yeah, like one of the things that he's doing, it's like, okay, he's in the middle of the court. Say Marcus is coming to double, and whoever he's up against, say it's Kennard. Then he's going to dribble to his right. He's going to dribble away from where the double team is going. Then he's going to pass it in the opposite direction. And that's what you teach guards. It's like dribble, drag. Oh, they're going to double team you. Have them come all the way to the other side of the court so that we can. And then it's like Chet.
And then you just put Marcus in no man's land, because he's not really doubling and he's not really guarding the guy he should be. Yeah.
Right. And he's chasing the whole time. And so you just reverse pass and it's a corner 3 on the other side of the court, wide ass open, and Chet knocks it down. And so I thought they were more organized on that front. And so I think the Lakers have to, adjust a bit on the defensive end. The thing is we don't have much in the way of like conventional defense. We don't have much in the way of guys who can guard, especially quicker guys on the perimeter. That like you kind of got to junk it up. I think zones are in the bag. I don't know, man. Beating OKC is above my pay grade, but those are some of my ideas.
See, could you solve world hunger? Like, you know, yeah, it's just that combination of you know, the back and forth that we just had there, I thought like perfectly summed up where things currently stand, right? Where it's like, hey, what could the Lakers do to get back into the series? Get more talent. Well, that's not really an option.
Right.
What like all right, what can they actually, you know, act upon? Well, they could try this, but who knows?
I have a question for you. In the Great Western Forum that we recorded prior to this, I'd asked you guys like the dips in concentration, not just the lineups that we're a little overmatched against them. It makes sense why they why they get outscored in those points. But like some of the reckless turnovers from Marcus, or there is a level of shooting yourself in the foot that the Lakers and it's not just an OKC thing. Right. That's the thing. That's the point that I'm making, is that that's not an OKC thing. That's a Lakers thing. That is, I'd asked you guys prior to the series, is there anything the Lakers can do about that? And so the fact that the Lakers for large stretches, like you said, they've not just been in the game, they were leading in the second half. There's like, it's about like not being able to sustain that for 48 minutes, that I think you probably are who you are at this point. But after seeing that kind of happen a couple of times, do you have any more thoughts on that whole idea of just being able to like concentrate and not do dumb shit?
As far as this series goes, no. Like, I don't think there's anything that can be done about it now.
Yeah.
But, and this is where I think, like, one thing I've always taken away, like one of my strongest like personal beliefs, is that failure is the time to learn, right? Like when you come up short, when you fall short of your own expectations or whatever like that, like now is the time to take a look in the mirror and figure out, what can I do to avoid that again? And we know where this is going. I'd be stoked if the Lakers push it to 5.
I don't want to get swept. Yeah, we got to get one.
But now is the time to learn. And what there's either two ways of addressing the stuff that you're talking about, meaning the lapses in concentration, the wild forays into the great beyond, as Marcus tries to get there on his own. I really think it's a conditioning thing. Like, you look at the way that all of these OKC guys are always running. They are all, like you mentioned on that possession that you talked about, that all 5 guys had crossed half court when Jalen Williams took a 3-pointer with like 3 seconds off of the shot clock.
That's right.
You know, like,
and they do that almost every play.
And you know, people always talk about the way that OKC comes at teams in waves, and they talk about that in terms of the personnel that comes off of the bench, the fact that they could roll 12 deep, right? But I also think they come at you in waves on the court, where there's literally a wave that is coming at you on transition. When the ball rotates over and they're making those rotations, it is a wave of arms and wingspans and athleticism and fouls that is coming at you, you know? And so like, to me, and this is something that JJ talked about coming into the season, that they really wanted to focus on their conditioning and they wanted to get a lot better on that front. And I think it's another thing that they're going to have to really double and triple down on this upcoming summer, is either find a way to employ, and it's really difficult to build out a 12-man rotation from 7 as you currently sit right now. So either figure out a way to do that, or this upcoming summer, go into it with the goal of, I am going to turn this into a 12-man rotation. And that requires constant vigilance when it comes to the guys who like might be at the end of the rotation. There is no like, oh, you know, good job, you made it back in the sprint whenever you did. No, everybody has to be pushed at the same extent that you have to push. You know, my water almost, that would have been a disaster. but yeah, like the conditioning, there's the cliche, right? That you often use, fatigue makes cowards of us
Cowards of us
all.
all. Mhm.
And I when I watch um Marcus on those plays, it's not just that the fatigue is making his brain say go, 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 go,
Mhm.
but it's also the fatigue team wide that he's up there dribbling 1-on-4. Where's
Mhm.
everybody else? It was
Mhm.
remember last night in the fourth quarter, the game was it had started to slip away. I think OKC had just hit the three that was coming off of the tip, right? The tip at half, and then the Lakers go down and they score on the other end. It on a made basket.
Mhm.
Three Lakers didn't cross half court while
No.
Kason Wallace is knocking down a wing. And I'm sorry, like either you're giving up or you're exhausted. And I don't care which of the two. It's the reality.
Yeah.
You can't have that. So to me, it's like, this upcoming summer, the focus for me is going to be everybody has to be in that kind of shape, and that's what I keep on telling Raj in these post games is that team isn't going anywhere. This is the
Right.
bar that is
That's right.
being set. The
Mhm.
Lakers need to meet that bar in every way that they possibly can.
I love this point. I think it's a great answer to the whole, like, can they concentrate for 48 minutes? That it's probably the biggest underlying point. I guess I would say, though, is that I don't think that's something you do with the same players. I think that's the
Mhm.
players that you choose to have on your roster that, like, do you like to run? Is your first instinct to run? It's one of the things I like about Odu is he doesn't even know where the hell he's supposed to be half the time, but he's running there and he's running there very fast. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
having
Yeah.
guys that actually, like, do run and like to run, and that's just kind of their
Yeah.
natural inclination. It's, we'll have more offseason talks and things like that, but it's funny because I like pretty much all our players that are in the Lakers rotation. I do not want to bring all of them back, though. But I would
Mhm.
individually bring any of them back for at the right
Yeah.
price and all of that. But I just think collectively, the thing that you bring up with the conditioning, with the running, I think we can sometimes confuse this for athleticism because to a degree it is, but like
Yes.
the
Mhm.
bench groups, these bench groups for OKC, they're mostly second round picks. These
Mhm.
are not like AJ Mitchell is a good athlete, but compared to other NBA athletes, he's not remarkable. Jared McCain's fast, but he's small. Uh,
Mhm.
Isaiah Joe's got good length, but he was a second round pick. He's not like none of these guys that we're
He's
talking
a
about are
skinny guy.
individually. Yeah, none of them are like really, man, this is a high level NBA athlete, but they run every play and they're in good enough condition to be able to do that. And you also have enough guys to where your shifts are short enough and your minutes are short enough to where you can run every play and you're not playing 42 minutes in a playoff game. So it all ties together. But yeah, that whole like running and conditioning, that's a great answer.
Well, it really is just a mentality, So my Jen loves running. If she doesn't run like 3 times in a week, she look like she just doesn't
Mhm.
quite feel good about herself at the end of the week. I look at me. I
I
don't
was just
I
saying,
I
look at
don't
us.
look like I
Yeah, these
love
boys got to get in shape as we rub our bellies.
like, I'm sitting here, like, complaining about building a shed, and Jen's like, "Damn it, I only ran twice." It's like you either have that knack for getting places fast or you don't,
Exactly. Exactly.
you know?
That's why I'm saying you got to get new dudes. If you want a team that does that, Anthony, you can't bring back the same crew.
But I think you need that though. Like
I
this is
agree.
where like we're talking about lessons that the Lakers specifically can learn from this series. But look across the playoffs. All the slow teams are out. Like the Nuggets don't like running a ton. The Rockets, because of Shingun, they don't run a ton.
Mhm.
Gone. And I think when you look at the other teams that are out there, the Detroit Pistons, they turn teams over, they get out in transition, they go. OKC turns teams over, they get out in transition, they go. And they do so in a way, Pete, critically that they figured out a way to translate that to the playoffs, which typically that hasn't translated,
Mhm.
and I don't know if it's that more teams are playing that way and as that becomes kind of the norm, it becomes more easy to kind of pull off. But you like this whole walk the ball up the court, execute in the half court. That's cool, but in these playoffs, man, like it's funny. I've noticed there's always, every time we get to this time of year, the analytically inclined always try to say uh why don't the numbers from the season hold up? Why don't the why doesn't, regular season numbers translate over to playoffs? And it's such a different sport. It's such a different approach to the sport. In just a foundational way, in the regular season, it usually takes coaches 10 to 20 games to adjust, right? To really, if they're looking at making a change in the starting lineup, if they're looking to make a change in the rotation, more zone, less zone, all those things,
Sure.
they compile a data sample of 10 to 20 games and then have a conversation about it. But in the playoffs, you have a 7-game series against the same team. It quarter by quarter, you have to be ready and able to make those adjustments. That in and of itself makes playoff basketball a completely different animal from regular season basketball. And I think the Lakers were this juggernaut really in close games last year, this year in the regular season. And it has become almost a useless thing to be good at, because in the series they haven't been close enough to execute in those clutch moments. And so, how do you get to the clutch? How do you do all these things? It's by way of getting the points that you can get. That's why the mid range becomes so important. That's something I wanted to talk to you about. I think Ayton was a guy that in that Great Western Forum episode, I said his flip shots, his jumpers at the free throw line, those have to start falling if he's going to have a chance at sticking around the series. That has not been the case. Austin needs to function in the mid range, and I thought yesterday he did a much better job of staying in control and operating in the mid range. And you saw his game turn around, and you didn't see Ayton's turnaround. So just that kind of zone on the court. Is there anything that can the Lakers sustainably adjust to operating more in the mid range and keep up mathematically with the ways that OKC succeeds?
Keep up. I don't know about that second part, but I think the first part they can. And Austin is the main guy for me. That point that you made of him operating more in the mid range, he was snaking a lot of ball screens last night. And the thing with Austin is he uses a lot of speed attacks, but I think he oftentimes does it at the wrong time and in the wrong direction. So if you want to hit the turbo button and drive all the way to the basket, if you're driving straight toward it, if something happens along the way where oh crap, I'm not as open as I thought I was, one of the dangers when you're going that fast is I'm going to drive right out of bounds. But you, on the front end of that, you have to get away from the defender who's guarding you off of that ball screen or off of isolation. You have to get enough separation from them too. So you do have to move fast. So one of the ways that you square that circle is by going sideways and using a speed attack going sideways. That's what Austin was doing off of snaking screens, right? So say he's got Wallace on him, he comes off of it, and rather than just going downhill, which is the right move sometimes, he snakes it and goes downhill but sideways across the free throw line, and he was rocketing skip passes. I loved his passing game yesterday, but also was pulling up from mid-range instead of running right into the freaking big men that are waiting for him right under the basket. I think he hit 4 mid-range shots in that game. His first bucket of the game was an and one where Wallace on the back pressure walked underneath him. You get that and one after the first 2 shots of his got blocked because he again drove right at Hartenstein the first time and then right at Chet and tried to shoot it over him. And it's for Austin, that mid-range, and then DA's missed 14 out of his last 15 shots, which is crazy for a big man. You've been playing hard.
So hard to do for a center.
Yeah, I don't have effort and things like that with DA. One of the things I said before the Great Western Forum was that we did previewing the series was that I thought it would be a hard series for DA in part because I think they really challenge his reaction time and his hands. You just got to go fast, and he does go up soft, as they say, but every player sort of has a natural tempo to how they finish, and he loves that little right-handed jump hook, and he's really good at it and all that. But it just takes a split beat longer than I'm just going to go up and try to dunk on you type of move that he's not able to convert on that. And then so one of those got blocked, and then he tried one again, but he was oh, I'll just shoot it the same way, but faster. And then he shot it entirely over the rim because he's not used to shooting it that fast, So, I think getting DA away from all of those bodies around the rim and, 10 feet away, 12, 15 feet away, and taking that shot, I think you're spot on there. Those are the two main guys, Austin and DA, that I think can kind of get more out of that mid-range.
I actually think Austin succeeding in the mid-range makes life easier for DA because eventually that's going to pull OKC's
Mm-hmm.
big to the level, which
Mm-hmm.
gives DA more of a
Great point.
runway
Mm-hmm.
going on the backside of that pick and roll. Hopefully, they might just live with Austin succeeding in the mid-range, which
Mm-hmm.
but either way though, you force them, like this is the thing. It's like in basketball, it's a series of chess moves where you're like, all right, put my piece here, your rook or your knight, which one do you want? And it's like for the Lakers, operating in the mid-range forces OKC to actually have to make that choice rather than OKC, with the way that they can blitz teams, with the amount of ball pressure that they can apply. The choice is always the offenses. What do I want to, like? What am I willing to take out of my diet here?
Mm-hmm.
Am I willing to live with Marcus operating or running the pick and roll because Austin is just getting too much ball pressure?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, defense won.
Yep.
How can the Lakers get LeBron the ball in the post more outside of just like getting better at entry passes overnight, which is not going to happen? But is it
Right.
like,
But so that's the answer, is that if it doesn't mean getting better at the actual entry pass, you have to you have to make them pay for overplaying the entry pass in the first place. So if they're gonna like try to jump that and get the steal, which they do, Şengün was doing that to us too. You have to have
Mhm,
some plays where you're like, oh, I know you're gonna do that. I'm gonna back cut, and now
mhm.
we're not even gonna go into the horn. We're gonna put that. And I think a younger version of LeBron probably absolutely eats on that. But that's a big part of it. But then also, if they're overplaying on one side of the court in that direction, you can actually reverse the action and ball reversal to do that on the other side, and they're at a natural disadvantage. Sort of like
Mhm.
the whole high-low concept, right? If like
Yeah,
somebody's
send
fronting
somebody
the
to the
post,
high post. Mhm.
yeah, send somebody to the high post and they make that quick pass that's going to be a bucket. Kind of similar type of concept. So I would love to see LeBron attack a little more from there, but that's the biggest issue with our post-ups right now, is it's taking fucking 10, 12 seconds to get into them.
Also, in order for that high post thing to work, I can remember the best example of the high low of our lifetimes, I think, was the Pow Bynum or Pow
Oh,
Odom,
beautiful three-man.
and remember how quickly the ball would go to the high post and how quickly they would dump down to Bynum, who would have that advantage. The problem is, rather than it being Power Odom making that high low pass, it is DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes making that high low pass,
Mhm.
and that beat matters, right? Especially when you're working in such small areas. I would I would also like to see, like you talk about the ball reversal and the advantage that that gives the guy who is being fronted, in this case, LeBron. But, and I know I'm going to sound like a high school coach when I say this, but would it kill the Lakers to use the occasional ball fake? Like just
Uh,
once? Like it drives me so good. Like the Thunder went zone yesterday, and they're they don't send as much help from the back line when the ball goes to the wing. They just their guards are just really fast and really get over to that wing really quickly. But
mhm,
in order to do that, that means you have to be in motion before the ball is released. And
mhm.
it's like, like just once,
Yeah.
like that always used to be my favorite thing was, I was a point guard, and if a team would go 2-3 on us, the ball would come to me, and the guard who was on the opposite side of where the ball was coming from, he would be anticipating a pass going over to the opposite wing so that the bigs would be able to switch. And I used to love throwing the ball fake so that I would get that guy moving that way. The other guard was obviously pinched in on the high post, and you'd be wide open at the top of the key. And I'm watching Austin just make it surprises me because the way that he succeeds is to get guys moving for himself, and that would seem like a pretty natural way to do it. But it's just outside. Like this is the thing, Pete. Like the series has reached a point where I'm like, can you ball fake? Like it's just it's
Mhm.
just that's just how these teams are kind of built right now. So Any other lessons from these playoffs that you think are
No,
actionable going into the offseason?
no, because we're only 2 games into it, right? Like, I think one of the things that I wanted to see over the course of this series was players getting better, right? Players
Mm,
encountering problems early in the series and being able to address them. That's part of the reason why I was thrilled with Austin's game yesterday,
yes,
because he was faced with
absolutely.
a lot of
Yeah.
the same things that he was atrocious at in game 1, and he did them much better. Now he's gonna get a chance to do it again at game 3 to prove that it wasn't a fluke. And that is what I want to see across the board over these next couple of games. I also want to see a level of resilience. This is going to test their degree of not give up. And I thought that, to your conditioning point, but there were points at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, in both of these games where I thought the Lakers kind of were like, yeah, we're not going to win this. And they were close
Mhm.
enough to, it was like 12. You're down 12 with 10 minutes left in the fourth. It's totally still in the game. And I just thought that the Lakers were like, no, we're not going to do. And so I want to see them be resilient. I don't want to see them like, what did we give up to Rudy Gobert in the elimination game last year? You remember that disgusting stat line that we gave up? You only give that up by like quitting. So I want to
Was
see
it
them
like
go out on their shield.
27 and like 13? And he was just
No, no,
nuts.
no. He had 20 something rebounds as well. He had a monster. I'm
Oh,
gonna look
yeah.
this up while you're talking. I'll look this up.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like I want to see them, be resilient, play with heart, and keep trying to problem solve all the way through the end.
Well, that's why, like, the guy that I'm kind of really looking at there is Jake, because, like,
Yeah.
I agree with you, first and foremost, that I'd be fine with not seeing him for the rest of the series. I want to see Thero in there. Like, I really want to get Thero some reps. Like, while the series, like, I think it's out of reach now. Like, they needed to
Mhm.
pick up a split there.
Yeah, you
I
don't
don't
win
think
4
they're
out of
going.
5. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But and so, like, while it was still within reach, I could understand, like, kind of playing for the win in the moment and all that stuff. And JJ has basically been putting in Thero for such short stretches that, like,
Mhm.
in our offsides chat, it'll be everybody will like send out a do, a do, a do, and then I'll be
Mhm.
like, yeah, all right, oh, but there he goes.
He gone.
Like, because he doesn't want, and I get it, like, from a strict coaching standpoint, where he's like, the longer he's out there, he is a very mistake prone player. He's a young guy, right? As you said, he runs really, he's the baseball player who took up golf, and he hits the ball a mile, but it could be a mile in any direction. And 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 so, like, I understand that hesitancy to keep him in there for longer stretches, but I do think now, get him some reps, and that stuff. But I also think, though, with Jake, he's also relatively young, right? 22 years old. And
3 or 4, yeah.
like, I what I would really like to see is for somebody to kind of get in Jake's face and say, shoot the fucking ball, man. Like, just shoot. Like, I know that his shot is broke at the moment right now, but the worst thing that you could do against the Thunder is pass up a good look,
Mhm.
and you're not getting a better one. And that just turns into an eventual turnover, whether it be live or dead ball. So I would actually kind of like to, like, the Lakers went small in yesterday's game, but I thought they went too small, where it was Austin, Marcus, and Kennard out there with LeBron and Rui, and Chet looked like Kareem. Um,
Mhm.
so I would like to see, give me a small ball lineup, give me, like, really start, like, throwing some crazy shit out there. And actually, this was a great point that you made on that Great Western Forum pod, which was, or that episode, where you were like, rather than kind of shut down and shorten the rotation, shorten the amount of options, make your menu smaller, try some wild shit,
Mhm.
Like, where's the annexation of Puerto Rico? Like, I want to see, you've never seen Little Giants. You never.
Oh, no. No. Sorry, that's
Oh,
very
okay.
specific. I'm Puerto Rican, I'm like, "Oh, we're
I know.
annexing
I
Puerto Rico?
realized
Whoa."
it as I said it. I
Yeah.
was like,
I'm just like,
I was like, oh shit. No, no, no.
talk
No,
to
it
Jovan
was,
about Kosovo, like, come on.
no, it was in Little Giants. Like, they were their coach was basically like, you know what? We got to try everything. We got to throw the entire kitchen sink at the other team in the second half. Let's try all kinds of crazy shit. And they had this little nerd who would like design their plays and stuff. And he had this crazy ass play called the annexation of Puerto Rico. I think that's what they ran to win the game. Little Giants, not Dan Aykroyd, but the guy from he was, what's that?
Rick
Moranis. Yeah. It was a really good movie. But yeah, like my general point though is like throw a do out there, see what kind of chaos he can throw.
Yeah.
Right. Bring I would like to see Maxey in there as like a quick decision maker. Like we're talking about the high post, the high low stuff. He's the only big who I trust to know which pass to throw when he throws it there. Who knows what he's going to give up on the other end? But I JJ has this, kind of default setting to clam up when his back is up against the wall. And I think he's under constant reevaluation here too. And I want to see him like get creative, like throw out there, fuck around a little bit. Did you notice, I don't want to spend too much time on here, and we'll get into the questions after this. Did you notice the same thing I noticed about the conversation about OKC during that game? Or were you kind of just focused on
I try to not keep up with the conversation about like what people are saying on stuff like this. And this is a topic I'm somewhat irritated
I knew as I was bringing it up, I was like, we'll see if Pete really wants to go here, but
I just don't like blaming the refs for stuff. Like it's just, I think a lot of it's sour grapes.
Well, I to be absolutely clear, I don't think anybody really is blaming the referees. Like, I don't think anybody is saying the Lakers would have won that if they called, if they didn't call that charge on LeBron.
Then why is like 90% of the conversation about it? Everybody reflexively goes to this with OKC. And part of the reason why I have attitude about it is I've seen people do this with the Lakers. It's like Lakers just beat your ass. Not this year, right? I'm talking like championship level teams.
The free throw differential stuff.
Yeah, Lakers just beat your ass and now you're crying about it. And it's like, it's rigged for the Lakers. They want the biggest market team. It's like people always end up crying about who the best team is. It's like, sorry, again, this is something I can rant about, but I know I have like a very minority opinion about, and people are going to be like, what the, I don't like it.
Well, all right. Here's what I'll say about it, though. I don't like when the more talented, and in this case, the significantly more talented, better team results to or like resolves to shenanigans and brings those into it. Like, I hate the flopping, man, and I hate it when Luka does it. And this is where I think the difference and why so many fans are so sick of OKC specifically. Philly fans don't like it when Embiid flops. I've like had plenty of conversations with Sixers fans who were like, yeah, that's bullshit. We don't like it either. It's ugly for the game. I know you don't like when Luka focuses too heavily on grifting and that derails his game and derails the game that he's playing in. I feel the same way about Austin when he gets a little too grift happy too. And yet, like, the only fan base that gets defensive as a reflex is OKC. And that kind of begins the annoyance with me. My larger like basketball point about this is the NBA could have fixed this 10 years ago.
This is my issue. My complaints are with the refs and with the NBA.
Yeah.
Remember that small period of time where you got a technical foul if you flopped?
Yeah. They should.
What happened
last
to that?
night was the perfect moment to call it.
Why didn't Chet get a fucking technical for that? Right? It's if they're flopping. So, for example, game 1, Shea has 8 turnovers. He tries some bullshit like 3 different times and they don't call it. And he turned it over as a result of that because he was flailing and out of position. That said, like, I don't put it on the team. we grew up with Kobe being like, oh yeah, I study ref formations because I know here, here, and here is a blind spot. And so if I'm in any of these spots, I'm going to foul the shit out of you because none of the refs are going to be able to see it. I come from a, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying perspective on this. And it's up to the refs in the NBA to officiate that out, to legislate all of that out. But like I don't like it aesthetically for sure. It's not my, the whole ethical hoops. Of course I like that too, but it's like, I don't know, man. Like, this is what high level basketball players do, frankly, and always have. They've always been on the edge of the rules. This is such a like razor thin margin between the greats and the very good type of players that so many of them, of the greats that we've seen, have manipulated that. And like one of the only guys who didn't was Shaq, who is fucking twice the size of the guy that was guarding him, so he didn't have to. But anyway,
well, Shaq, it wouldn't have done Shaq any good to grift because he would just go to the free throw line and miss out of his free throws anyway. So like,
good point.
He was better off not. But like, I don't know. I also believe in the world that we live in that like shame is a good thing. And like for Shea,
I agree.
after the game,
that's why you should stop crying about the reps after you get your ass beat.
Well, I think that like what OKC basically does is, and it's what all good defensives have done over the years. I think they have taken it up to the next notch, and here we stand. But what they basically do is they foul, and that becomes the like that's the bar of physicality that they set for the referees. And I just think that relationship is backwards, where the referees, I think at some point have to be like, no, Lou, you don't get to freaking like it's LeBron James that he is knocking off of his line. You know how physical you know how hard you have to push this dude to knock LeBron off his line.
Is that specific to OKC though? I feel like we watched that all year long, where because LeBron doesn't go flopping all over the place, he gets a trash whistle because that's how you draw fouls, is being all fucking melodramatic and stuff. But last night and a couple of times last night, guys, and this happens all the time, players will jump into his body and he's so strong that he doesn't really go anywhere, but that shit's illegal. It's a foul. So my question is what you're talking about, is that OKC specific with LeBron? Because I feel like we see that all the time.
But would you prefer LeBron flop?
I mean, if that's what needs to draw the foul, I would prefer the refs call the fucking foul. Yeah, I would prefer that the refs call body contact and that they are not as susceptible to all. For example, there was a call on Kennard yesterday fouling Shea, where Shea just threw his body, and so he's backing up. Kennard barely plays defense at all. Like, he's not fouling anybody. He's just standing there with his hands up, not doing, you know what I'm saying? That's like, I see that all over the league. But this is not specific to OKC. I see dudes throwing their off arm, throwing their bodies into the defense all over the place. We have a refereeing problem for sure. I just don't tie it to OKC.
I think it's both a refereeing problem and I think it's more so a litigiousness problem, like how like
Adam
everything
Silver
has become like everything has just become like, oh, the angle of penetration and who has what position, and it's just like I wish that they would really throw the rule book out and start over again. You know,
that was my biggest. I'm sorry, I'm ranting and talking.
No, go for it.
That was my biggest problem with the refereing last night. That third quarter took like 45 minutes.
It did.
Why do reviews take 3 minutes? Why are, you know what I'm saying? Like that game had no flow at all because the refs were taking fucking forever it's a flow sport with 200 possessions in it. You need to put a clock on these guys. These dudes need like no more than 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever it needs to be. Make the call and let's go.
Yeah. I think it sounds like you and I are going to agree to disagree, is that I just think that, like, I understand if you're not cheating, you're not trying, but at the same time also, it like, if the shit that you do on a basketball court would start a fight in a pickup game, then you deserve to be punched in said game that it's actually taking place, you know? And Like maybe that's a reason to play Maxey, is to put him out there and be like, Lou,
That'd be a
stop.
good one.
Yeah,
What's Trey Jameson up to? Yeah.
right. Like just look, you know who'd be better at that? Drew Timmy instead of Nick Smith Jr. He's a bigger body.
Touche.
Let's move on. All right, let's see what questions and comments that you guys have over the course of the show. We do have a couple of according to our friend Kirk, I picked up a personal foul and a technical. This was within like minutes of the show starting. Look
What's
at
up,
John
Kirk?
Goebel over here.
Offside.
All right, so yeah, he is. All right, so most important sound on the show. Let's Run UNLV writes, LeBron's takeaway from this series that if he wants to win a ring, he's probably got to do it in the East with the Knicks or the Cavs. Maybe those teams move money for him. Look, the path for the Cavs moving money is really difficult because of how high above all of the aprons that they currently sit. The Knicks' focus this summer is going to be Giannis, depending on how the rest of these playoffs go. I don't necessarily agree that LeBron's best path to a championship is in the East, because you still have to eventually play OKC or, San Antonio in the finals. And I just think metal sharpens metal, steel sharpens steel.
Sure.
But I have walked away from this series thinking that the Lakers really need LeBron again next year. Like, I want this guy in these fights again next year. I don't think he's going to fall off again. Has your opinion on him changed at all, or where do you stand on LeBron's future?
No, I mean, well, LeBron's future, that's an interesting question. My biggest concern with LeBron, because I totally agree with you that once again, LeBron was there in the biggest moments and has raised his game to, I think he's admirably filled in. You can make a good argument he's been the best player in the series. And so I'm not surprised by that at all. My one concern about LeBron's future with the Lakers is that I don't think, and maybe someone correct me if I'm wrong, the Lakers will be able to replace him nearly as easily the next summer or any summers after that, right? Like, I think the Lakers' current cap situation is one in which, like, say LeBron resigns and it's, I don't know, 1 year, $25 million or something like that. He gives Lakers, because he's playing at a higher level salary than that, by the way. But that's I want to try to, he's like, that's his, like, hey, I know we need to add talent. I'm going to give you a discount type of contract.
Which is the number, by the way, I had kind of reported before the playoffs even started, was that he was in that range of 25, 27.
I'm just throwing a number out there. I have no information or anything like that. Like, I think, even if that's the case, like, Lakers have a decent amount of work to do to be able to get to where they want to go. So I don't know. I don't think that come the 27 summer, like, if he expires and he's not eternal, you know what I'm saying? If he retires at age 42 instead of age 41,
more eternal than I am. That's for
what
sure.
What do we do at that point if we've got Luka and Austin under? You know what I'm saying? We don't have the cap space or flexibility to do that. So that is a long-term type of question. To answer that question, if he's signing with the Cavs or Knicks, it's probably for very little money, like MLE or less, most likely. And if he wants to sign with that for us, we could build out an awesome team, right? It just, his play certainly justifies more than that.
Yeah, that's the tough spot that the Lakers find themselves in, is because they can pay him more. He's going to expect them to pay him more. Whereas like the Knicks and the Cavs and the Warriors, and I think those are really the only three options, can't pay him as much. So if he wants to go there, it's kind of on their terms or on reality's terms. And I frankly think that's why he stays, is because he can get more. Like, even if it's the most that he can get out of any of those spots without a sign and trade, without, mountains being moved, is the MLE, we'll say, right? And if the Lakers even offer, or even like if he and the Lakers come to, some kind of an agreement, maybe he plants some trees, like 22 million or 20-ish million, which is still significantly more than he's making from those other teams that he would otherwise be leaving to. And is obviously well below what he's actually worth. He's worth the max. Like the way that he has played in these playoffs where he's won a series on his own, and then he's been probably the best player in this one too.
I think you got to be an 82 game star, like high level star to be worth the max at this point. I think he's going to be more relied upon to turn up at the end. But yeah,
well, that's what's so funny, Pete. Like literally the text that I sent you and Jovan in our group chat was that, we're talking about Austin's contract being impacted by these playoffs potentially coming off of game 1 or whatever, right? And I was like, well, technically James Harden has made a shit ton of money despite being terrible in the playoffs too. So what, like I'm not even saying we cannot honestly have this conversation on this pod because it would stretch for another couple of hours. But what should players be paid for? Should they be paid for the 82 games that get you to the playoffs, or should they get paid based on their performance in the games that matter? Like that, like I think that's a legitimately fascinating conversation to have.
I think it's a very easy answer for the Lakers. It's for the games that matter. If you're a mid-market team that's just trying to be competitive and win some games, get people to show up, go ahead and trade for James Harden. But no, you're not going to be winning championships with guys like Harden. Like, you got to pay players off of their playoff performance. We're trying to win a title, right? Like, that's the whole point of what we're trying to do. So no, players shouldn't be paid off of their, like, it's a factor of it, but that's like the for a max type of guy though, you got to be all of it, right? You got to be able to carry the team throughout the course of a season and be able to do it come playoff time, I think, anyway.
Next question here comes from Let's Run UNLV also, who writes, given that if the Lakers re-sign Austin, Marcus Rui, maybe Braun, they're not building with cap space this summer, they'll have to improve with trades. Their ammunition to build with trades is like Vando's contract, which is brutal still. And then you have Jake LaRavia is expiring, Dalton's expiring. That's really kind of it, right? In terms of movable money that you wouldn't be bringing back. So would that be enough? Like, would that combination of contracts get you to like a $23-ish million player? If you
and we have to replace Ayton in this framework.
I don't know. I think he opts in, right? Like, I don't think he's opting out.
And then he's our starting center.
Woof. Maybe you could trade for Claxton. I think Claxton makes.
Claxton, don't start with the Claxton shit. Claxton's so overrated. Only guy that gets me more triggered is Mobley.
Is he better than Ayton?
Barely.
I'm just asking.
Nick Claxton is, the Nick Claxton fascination. No, like I'd rather not.
It was just the first guy who came to mind who's in that, I believe, $20-ish million range that you could turn Vando and Dalton and Jake into.
I think you're talking about two dudes basically on the same tier, but they bring 21. Different things to the table. But between Claxton and Ayton, like I wouldn't want to trade anything for that. So that's part of the point that I'm making, is that like 23 million, we can't bring everybody back and add talent. You know what I'm saying? Like, we not significant enough to I think make a difference. We'll see.
I don't know. Like, if you basically turn those three guys, right? Dalton isn't giving you anything. Vando is hit or miss as far as what he gives you over the course of the season. Jake has been brutal since the All-Star break. If you turn those three guys into a near starting caliber center and you move Ayton to a backup spot where you don't have to rely on him quite as much, and he could be kind of matchup dependent. And if that only costs you, because he's on an expiring contract next year, Claxton is. So I don't think it would take like more than a first to get him while also moving Vando's contract.
I think trading a first for Claxton, independent of Ayton, is insane. I think he's super overrated. Like, he's so skinny. That dude weighs like 220 pounds. He would be getting moved all over the place over the course of the year. I'm down with the idea. Chet is an elite shot blocker that can also shoot. Like
That
Chet's a
is a
much better
concern.
offensive player. Chet's got
Claxton's
on ball.
yeah.
Claxton is not good on offense. Like if he's on a different, I don't consider him on a different tier than Ayton at all. If we were talking about a different player, I'd be more into it. But do you think we're a $23 million player? Just add a Luka plus a $20+ million player away from beating OKC or San Antonio?
Depends on the $23 million player.
Yeah. Okay.
No, because it gets back to what we talked about at the start of the show, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's this team still has that inherent athleticism problem. And
they don't run.
Look, I like Luke. He was a really fun story there for a while. I don't need to see him back. Like he's just he hit what 2 threes yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I think so. 2 in the layup. Yeah.
He's hit 2 threes in the last 3 or 4 games. Like it's really kind of difficult to I don't know. But no, like to your point, I guess Luke walking changes things a little bit. Marcus, do you think he opts out? I kind of feel like he would opt out because this would be the final opportunity at getting paid.
Yeah, he's only owed $5.5 million, and he's a starter on a second round playoff team.
And that's the thing is that like can the Lakers even cap wise afford like if Marcus opts out? I think Rui has definitely earned himself a pay raise these playoffs. Some team out there is going to say, look, man, if this is who this guy is every postseason, like it's worth probably $22 million a year for Rui. He's making 18 now. That's what, we talk often about the Lakers optionality and, it's really kind of 2 paths. Like, I don't really see a way to split the difference between bringing this team back essentially and completely rebuilding it. Like every guy that you decide to bring back severely limits what your options are to actually improve the team. And, it's let alone like, that's just this summer. Like to your point about replacing LeBron in the future, whatever team the Lakers walk away from this offseason with, that's their team probably for like that. That's their core while they have Luka, unless you're willing to eventually trade Austin, unless you're willing to eventually trade Adu, which, I'd be okay with, I guess. But yeah, biggest thing is I want to avoid talking or I want to avoid thinking about the summer for at least one more game.
That's what I'm saying. We're going to have so many discussions about this, man. Yeah.
Do you think the Lakers can pick up 1 in the next 2?
Yeah, I do.
I hope the refereeing is like offensively bad for the Lakers this next game. Like just
in our favor.
Just so like Lakers or Thunder fans. And that was what's crazy is that they had gripes. I thought it was really poorly officiated both ways in that like the reviews like completely mucked up the game. I thought it was just willy-nilly. What is a touch foul? What is an actual foul? Like either way, I thought the Lakers were on the shorter end of the stick there, but overall, I thought it was just really poorly refereed, and it gets back to this being an NBA problem more so than it is a Thunder problem, probably.
That's my view.
Pete, anything that you want to plug before we get you out of here?
No, come join us on the offside chats, having fun on those, but that's it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it here for this episode and this week's episodes here of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Let's see. The Lakers play tomorrow night. Raj is going to be in the building. Jen is on call, so I probably won't have shit to do anyway, so I'll probably pop in here after the game. So I will definitely be in the offside chat for the game, probably be here after the game anyway. So until then, and until the next time you guys hear from us, have a great rest of your day, make somebody else's, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.